Welcome to the History of Science, where we explore the lives and ideas of the men and women who changed how we understand the universe. In this audio article, we turn to one of the most remarkable collaborations in scientific history, the friendship between Sir Isaac Newton and Edmond Halley, and how it came to birth one of the greatest books ever written, the Principia Mathematica. In the late 1600s, English was a landscape recovering from turmoil, civil war, plague, and fire, but it was also a nation awakening to science. The Royal Society in London had become a meeting place for experimenters, mathematicians, and natural philosophers. Among its members was the young astronomer named Edmond Halley. Halley was a man of restless curiosity. Before the age of 25, he had sailed to the remote island of St. Helena to chart the southern stars, publish papers on planetary motion, and become known as one of the brightest minds of his generation. But even Halley's talent was humbled by one of the questions that puzzled astronomers everywhere. Why do the planets move in the way they do? Johannes Kepler, a century earlier, had described the planets' elliptical orbits, but no one could explain why they followed those paths. The force that bound them to the sun remained a mystery. In 1684, Halley attended a discussion with two other fellows of the Royal Society, Christopher Wren and Robert Hooke. Each tried to explain the celestial motions, and Hooke boasted that he could derive the orbits mathematically. Halley challenged him to show the proof. Hooke never did. That summer, Halley traveled to Cambridge to seek out a man whose mathematical genius was already the stuff of legends, Isaac Newton. At first, Halley simply asked Newton what curve a planet would follow if it were attached to the sun by a force that weakened with the square of the distance. Newton's reply was astonishing. He said an ellipse. He added that he had already worked out the demonstration years earlier, but had misplaced the paper. Halley urged him to redo the calculation and promised to publish it through the Royal Society. Newton agreed, and what began as a conversation over an astronomical puzzle soon grew into a work that would change the course of science. Over the next 2 years, Newton expanded his notes into a vast treatise, Philosophicae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, or simply the Principia. It was a masterpiece of mathematical reasoning, showing that the same force that makes an apple fall to the ground also governs the motion of the moon and planets. With elegant proofs, Newton united the heavens and the earth under one law of universal gravitation. But Newton might never have finished or published the work without Edmond Halley. As editor, Halley reviewed the drafts, encouraged revisions, and managed the difficult relationship between Newton and Hooke, whose claims of priority threatened to derail the project. When the Royal Society's treasurer proved empty, having spent its fund printing a book on fish, Halley personally paid the cost of printing the Principia. He even oversaw the printing himself, correcting proofs and smoothing temperamental Newton's concerns. In the dedication, Newton modestly credited the most learned and excellent Halley for his efforts. With Halley's steady support, the Principia might remain a pile of forgotten notes in a Cambridge drawer. The book's impact was immediate and profound. The Principia gave the world a framework in which the universe ran according to mathematical laws, precise, predictable, and elegant. It laid the foundation for classical physics and remained the bedrock of science for more than 2 centuries. As for Halley, he continued his groundbreaking work, charting Earth's magnetic field, studying trade winds, and of course predicting the return of the comet that would forever bear his name. But his greatest act of scientific service may have been recognizing Newton's genius and ensuring that his discoveries reached the world. Newton and Halley remained friends for life. When Halley later became Astronomer Royal, he carried forward the spirit of inquiry that had defined their collaboration, a belief that nature could be understood through reason and observation. Their story is a reminder how even the greatest minds sometimes need a helping hand, and that behind every monumental discovery stands someone who believed in enough to see it through. You've been listening to The History of Science. If you enjoyed the audio article, be sure to check out the others in the series, featuring the lives and discoveries of the scientists who shaped our understanding of the world. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to more stories from the history of science.